The room buzzed with restrained energy. It was 8:46 a.m., 14 minutes before the grand presentation. Executives moved like chess pieces, too quietly for a company in crisis. A few glanced at the empty stage. No one said it, but they all thought it. What if this doesn't work? 9 years ago, Jonathan saved them. The same man, the same crisis. Or so it seemed. But today, even the walls felt different. Relax, muttered Frank, the operations head. He's done this before. Exactly, Sandra whispered back, head of finance. And maybe that's the problem. In the far corner, Olivia adjusted her notes. Marketing. Young. Sharp. Too smart for her position. Or too rebellious. She didn't trust this plan. She didn't even trust herself for doubting it. Everyone ready? A voice called. It was Tom from production. Loyal to Jonathan like a soldier to a general. No one's ever ready for a resurrection, Sandra replied dryly. The door opened. Jonathan stepped in. He looked tired, thinner, but his presence still bent the room around him. He nodded, slowly walked to the center of the stage, placed his hands on the podium. Friends, he said, we are not here to survive. We are here to restart, reinvent, reignite. The screen behind him lit up. Graphs, arrows, forecasts, a bold plan. Expansion into 2 new markets, cost reduction by 20%, centralized logistics, brand repositioning. He spoke clearly, passionately. Too passionately? Olivia's eyes narrowed. She saw the rhythm of his voice, the momentum of hope, but not the heartbeat of the customer. Still, she wanted to believe. Then it happened. Mid-sentence, Jonathan froze. His hand trembled. His voice cracked. He blinked, as if trying to focus. Not on the screen, but something far away. And then, silence. His body collapsed to the floor. Gasps, screams. People rushed forward. The click of his microphone echoed through the auditorium. The screen behind him still glowed with the words, New Horizon Plan, launch date, Q4. But Jonathan was gone. A plan remained, but the leader did not. And in the back of the room, Olivia whispered what no one else dared to say. Maybe this wasn't the right plan after all. Chapter 2. The Fracture. The office felt like a battlefield after the storm. People spoke in low voices, as if afraid the walls were still listening. Jonathan's death had frozen the system, not just emotionally, but structurally. The plan remained, but without its author, it was just a set of bullet points on a screen. Frank slammed his hand on the meeting table. He was a genius. He pulled us out once. We owe him to finish what he started. Sandra shook her head. That was then. This is now. The market has changed. The world has changed. Even he knew it. He died presenting that plan, Tom cut in. That means something. No, Olivia said softly, her eyes calm but firm. That means he didn't see the flaw. Everyone turned. Excuse me? Frank narrowed his eyes. I'm not saying the plan is bad, she clarified. I'm saying it's unfinished, unverified, and now it's unsupported. The executive floor split like ice. Old loyalties clashed with new questions. Some, like Frank and Tom, clung to the past, to the man, the vision, the dream. Others, like Sandra and Olivia, started to ask, what if that dream had become a blindfold? By noon, mini-meetings formed in corners and break rooms. Whispers, alliances, predictions. They'll never approve this without Jonathan. No one wants to be the one to kill it either. Let the holding company decide. By the time the shareholders' video call began, everyone had picked a side. Some openly, others silently. The chair of the holding company, a calm and clean-shaven executive named Monroe, appeared on screen. We've reviewed the plan, he said, and we understand the tragedy you've faced. A pause. We believe the core idea has potential, but leadership is now in question. Eyes darted across the room. Our decision is as follows. The plan remains under consideration, but no implementation will begin. So what happens now? Asked Sandra.
We're sending someone, Monroe replied. A temporary outside auditor. He will evaluate not just the plan, but the people behind it. The room went still. Frank clenched his jaw. Olivia crossed her arms. Tom whispered, "They don't trust us." Monroe added, "He arrives in 72 hours. His mandate? To determine whether this division has a future, or whether it should be transitioned." "You mean sold off?" someone asked. Monroe didn't answer. The screen went dark, and for the first time since Jonathan fell, silence returned. But this time it wasn't mourning. It was fear. Chapter 3. The Shadow from the Holding. 3 days. That's how long they had to imagine their judge. Rumors filled every hallway, every Slack chat, every smoke break. He's probably just a numbers guy, corporate type. No, I heard he's ex-military, cold as steel. They'll send someone loyal to Monroe, a hitman in a suit. What if it's not a man at all? By the time the Monday briefing came, the executive conference room felt more like a courtroom. They sat like defendants. And then, he entered. Not through the main door, through the side. No security entourage, no flashy intro. Just presence. Tall, weathered face, calm posture. Crisp dark shirt. A small strange pendant around his neck. Ali Bey. He didn't smile, didn't sit. He stood and looked, one by one. Silence thickened like smoke. Then he spoke. "I'm not here to save you." People shifted in their chairs. "I'm here to determine if you're worth saving." A pause. No one moved. He walked slowly to the board, picked up a marker, wrote 3 letters. DSR. Turned back to the room. "In 48 hours, I want a complete report. 1 metric. This one." Frank frowned. "That's it? You don't want to see our revenue models, EBITDA, pipeline, forecasts?" "No," Ali replied. "This'll be enough." "But why this one?" asked Olivia, leaning forward. He looked at her, not with coldness, with stillness. "Because this one tells me if your system breathes." After he left, the room broke into 100 fragments. "He's insane. No, he's testing us. DSR? What even is our latest number? Does he even have authority to demand this?" Tom stood, half whispering. That man doesn't bluff. By evening, every department had stopped pretending. Ali Bey wasn't a ghost. He was a shadow, and they were all under it now. And the next 48 hours would decide who would walk out from it, and who wouldn't. Chapter 4. Revelation. The next morning, the building pulsed with anxiety. No one talked about the weather. No one joked near the coffee machine. Everyone talked about DSR, and no one truly knew why. Sandra's finance team pulled numbers late into the night. Tom's production managers whispered in corners, guessing what Ali really wanted. Frank barked at his assistants, blaming over-analysis. And Olivia watched. She watched how uncertainty unraveled people. By mid-morning, department heads gathered in the war room, a large glass chamber usually reserved for investor updates. Today, it felt like an interrogation chamber. Ali Bey entered without a word, sat, folded his hands. A stack of documents waited for him. He didn't open them. "You brought me numbers," he said. "You asked for them," Sandra answered. He nodded. "Now let me show you what I see." He opened the top sheet. It was the DSR report. Then he stood. "DSR, Days Sales of Receivables, tells me this, how long it takes for money to flow in." He turned to the screen. Graphs appeared. "But behind it, I see more." He clicked. "In marketing, your investment to return ratio is skewed. ROI down 28%. In sales, your close rate dipped below 7%, but your lead cost doubled. Production has a 19-day backlog. Finance is delaying payments to suppliers by 30 days to balance cash. Accounting missed 3 compliance deadlines last quarter." He turned. And all of that lives inside this one number. Silence. Audible breathing. No one expected that. Frank leaned forward, for the first time, impressed. Sandra narrowed her eyes, recalculating. Tom whispered, "That's not bad." Olivia didn't speak, but her mind was racing. This man didn't guess. He saw. Ali walked back to his chair.
I asked for one number because I wanted to know, do you understand your own pulse? He looked at the stack of papers. You don't. He stood again. But now, I do. He walked out. That night, no one slept. Not out of fear, but out of something worse. Awakening. Chapter 5. The Royal Metric. The room was packed, but quiet. Ali Bey stood at the front, holding a single sheet of paper. No slides, no laser pointer, just one number. This, he said, is the Royal Metric. Silence. He pointed to the letters on the whiteboard. DSR. You gave me this number without understanding it. Let me show you why it matters more than you think. He stepped closer to the board, circled the letters. This one metric reflects your speed, your trustworthiness, your efficiency, your structure. Let's walk through it. He flipped the page in his hand. Marketing. Your customer acquisition cost is rising. Why? Because your campaigns are not connecting. You're speaking louder, but not clearer. Sales. Your team is chasing short-term closes. You've taught them to push, not to understand. Production. You're building based on forecast, not demand. You're overproducing slow sellers and starving your heroes. Finance. You're stretching payables, choking suppliers, burning relationships. Accounting. 3 compliance flags last quarter, and no one noticed. He paused, looked around the room. You built a machine, but forgot the rhythm. He tapped the page. This number, this is your heartbeat. And right now, you're arrhythmic. No one moved. The room wasn't stunned. It was undressed. Tom broke the silence. That's a hell of a diagnosis. Frank exhaled, slow and controlled, trying not to show his admiration. Sandra bit her lip, and Olivia watched. Something inside her shifted. She saw it. This man didn't just know numbers. He read them like stories, like secrets, like weapons. After the meeting, no one went back to their desks. People lingered in hallways, exchanged glances. Some whispered, "We were wrong about him." Others, "He's dangerous." But all agreed on one thing. He saw more than anyone in that room ever had. And slowly, respect began to grow. Not openly, but in silence. Some started to defend him behind closed doors. Others tried to curry favor, subtly, carefully. But Ali didn't change. He didn't smile more. He didn't call people by their first names. He just kept showing up. Quiet, watching, listening. And they began to ask themselves, if he can read us so clearly, what else does he already know? Chapter 6. The Collapse of Unity. The next morning, the entire leadership team gathered in the main conference room. Ali Bey entered last. He walked slowly to the whiteboard, picked up a marker, faced the room. Do you know what stops people from taking the right action? Silence. Someone muttered, conflicting ideas? Ali shook his head. No. Ideas are fuel. What stops people is doubt. He paused. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., I want to see a unified plan for how this company will survive. Frank frowned. You mean from each department? Ali shook his head again. No. One plan. As if it came from a single organism. Because only an organism can survive, not a pile of limbs. Tom blinked. You're asking us to do in 24 hours what took Jonathan months? Ali looked directly at him. No, I'm asking you to do what Jonathan couldn't. The meeting ended. The room exploded. Doors slammed. Laughter echoed. Some froze in place, speechless. This is madness, someone snapped. He's testing us. He's setting us up to fail. In every department, chaos erupted. Marketing tried to draft ideas. Sales refused to cooperate.
Production didn't even show up for the joint call. We can't even agree on what the problem is. Who's going to lead the joint plan? Do we even trust each other? Frank shouted at his team. He wants us to merge visions, but we can't even merge calendars. That evening, Olivia stood by the window in her office. The city lights flickered below. She wasn't angry. She wasn't panicking. She was thinking. He didn't give us a task, she whispered to herself. He gave us a mirror. Next morning, 9 a.m. Everyone was present, but Ali's desk was empty. No papers, no plans. Ali entered, calm, neutral. Nothing? People exchanged glances. Tom sighed. Sandra looked away. Frank finally said, "We tried, but we couldn't even get to the same table." Ali nodded. Exactly. You couldn't meet. You couldn't speak. Because you're not one team. He turned to the whiteboard and wrote in large letters, "Lack of unity." As long as this exists, he said, tapping the words, no plan will save this company. Then, without another word, he walked out. He didn't slam the door. He left it open, both literally and symbolically. Olivia stayed. She stared at the whiteboard, then turned to look at her colleagues, who for the first time didn't move. No one argued. No one blamed. They just stood there. Together. For the first time, together.